Hey, what's up, Crypto Universe? You're watching us live here on CryptoCentral.net. My name is Eugene Tay, and with me I have two very special guests. We have Mike Kayamori from QUOINE and Nick Cowan from GBX. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the show. And I would say that, in my opinion, having these two coming together as stewards of the ICO world, this is going to be massive. And as you always know on Crypto Central, I try to give you guys the tip on the next big thing that's going to happen. And especially when you hear about the ICO in 2017 and all the latest, even in January itself with all the hacks and the scams coming up in 2018, I think you guys are going to be so important to the whole crypto universe. And we're going to find out more about that. And also just a reminder for you all watching today, you can bump up the votes on the questions that have been asked, or if you want to ask your own questions, well, click on the link below and put in your comments as well. So, gentlemen, especially Nick, 8 p.m. right now. I understand that Rock token whitelisting just closed?
It just closed at 8 o'clock. I think we had, well, so far over 7,000 cleared whitelisted users. So we just want to say obviously a huge thank you to everybody who supported us over the last couple of weeks. And now the countdown begins. So Wednesday is the key day.
That's right.
When the public sale starts. And
I believe most of us, you guys are tuning in, probably are fans of you guys. And I want to find out more about what's going to happen with the various, with Rock Token's future and Cash and Coin, and how this whole collaboration is going to impact people. But before we get to that, and as people are now keying their questions and voting up the questions, I want to talk a bit about the current climate and your take on that. As we know that you guys are very huge proponent of best practices and are putting regulations in place. That also would go against the grain of what we know about cryptocurrencies. And we have one camp who says, no rules, pure decentralization, no regulations. And as we go towards the mainstream crowd, and when we have seen so many of these cases, people get burned and hacked and losing money, regulations must be in place, otherwise you're just going to get a very niche playing field. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, so, well, thank you for inviting me today. So hacks and theft and security has always been an issue. And as a regulated exchange, so we are the first global exchange to be regulated in Japan. And actually, when you think about it, it's the second incident in Japan, right? So the first Mt. Gox incident happened in 2014, February. And exactly 4 years, in 2018 Feb, or I think it was January 26th, the second incident happened with CoinCheck, right? So it shows that security has always been an issue. And this is something where governments and regulators will not keep liberty. And it's going to have more scrutiny, especially with cryptocurrency going mainstream. This is something that's going to be much more keen interest from regulators to control both exchanges and also to a large extent ICOs as well.
Yeah. Does that worry you at all, Nick, for running GBX as an exchange, and with all these security issues and hacks? How does that bother you?
I think there's a couple of things to talk about. I think first of all, if you look at the role of the exchange, is to try and allow issuers and investors / participants come together in a secure marketplace. That's the key here. And what keeps us awake at night is investor protection as running a traditional stock exchange. So I think there's probably a couple of things to talk about. I think if you look at the evolution of where we are with token sales, and then we'll talk about security. What was originally confined to quite a small crypto community, backing their peer group to try to develop the blockchain, it's just become so successful. And if you have $3.7 billion of issuance in 2017, it can't be ignored anymore. Coupled with that, regulators are obviously starting to really try to get their arms around how are we going to regulate this new asset class that's never been seen before and isn't a security, it's a utility. So that's a challenge, I think, for regulators globally. And I think Gibraltar has obviously taken a lead, I think, in regulating distributed ledger technology companies. I think with regards to security, I think, look, with any new industry, and if we look at cryptocurrency exchanges, probably even the oldest one is 6 years old, and I'm probably stretching it even there. What we like so much about QUOINE is their approach to security, and that's why we want to work so closely with the guys. They come from a very similar background to us, which is risk and trading and tech. And their 100% cold storage policy is great for us. The fact that they're regulated and licensed, we are as a stock exchange. We intend to be obviously as a cryptocurrency exchange. Our license has gone in. So I think with any new industry, you're going to have challenges. You're going to have bumps along the way. And I know $500 million is quite a big bump. But what will happen is the regulators will fill in those gaps and fill in those holes. And I think the industry and the community will benefit as a result, as distressing as it is.
Which is why I think the whole collaboration and the strategic partnership with QUOINE and GBX is so strong, because when I was doing my research on both of you guys separately, the vision was so aligned, the philosophy was so aligned, and how do you guys even get into that position together instead of, some of the questions that was asked was like, are you guys competitors? But I don't think so. And in many of the interviews you said you're not competitors. But I think what would be more interesting is, how did you find yourself together in this world, being so on either sides of the world?
Well, I think that's the wonder of the community. I think the power of the community is it's bringing people together in different places. And I think we first met Mike in Singapore, and then it developed from there. And we went to Tokyo. We're in Tokyo last week, meeting with the team again. And I think the first thing for us was, we looked at different technology solutions for us as an exchange as we were going through our own process. And we were very keen to partner up with a jurisdiction that had regulations. And there's only really one, that's Japan. So it's a process from elimination. And then obviously we got introduced to Mike and the team. We liked the fact that they share our same core values. We liked their tech. But I always say that business is easy, but people make it tough. What we liked about QUOINE were the guys. We got Mike, Seth, Andre, the entire team, Katsu. They're just fantastic guys, and that was really important for us to make the decision to partner up. I think secondly, what we're trying to do here is, it goes back to what I was trying to say. We want to try and make access to funding as easy as possible. So for our issuers, let's just say that come through GBX, to be able to, subject to JFSA approval, which we would work on with QUOINE, if we can introduce those issuers to a Japanese market, that has to be a fantastic solution. And you've got to be licensed and regulated as an exchange in Japan to be able to access that market, right? So there's a really good reason. I think secondly, Japanese issuers, and we believe there's a mainstream drive here going on with the tokenization of economies. If Japanese issuers in the future want to get a European footprint, then QUOINE know they can partner up with GBX and we'll dual list it on our exchange. So we see this 100% as just win-win-win. We really do.
It's like the gateway to world domination when two of you guys combine.
Well, I don't think it's world domination. I think it is good that we don't overlap geography-wise. And as you know, as cryptocurrency goes mainstream, it's extremely important not only to work with regulators, but also banks. And also that's something where, for example, we don't have any footprint in Europe or a banking relationship there as well. So there's already immediately synergies where as a token issuer or a customer, they can trade or list on GBX, and also they can come to us. Right? And then the important thing is it's always about culture, right? How can you work together? Because it's such an important thing when you do partnerships.
See, and the thing is, Mike, when I spoke to you at last year in November, and we had a very good conversation, and I understand you to be a man who takes your time. You take your time to do things, you plan, and it's always about the future. And then you guys just met just recently, and boom, this whole partnership happens. I know you've not talked about this in any of your interview videos that I've seen. What was your first thought when you hear GBX was around, and what made you so excited about it?
Well, the thing that made, so it's actually not boom. It's a 6-month process. It is 6 months. So it's just something where we don't want to bring too much expectations or something without proper agreements and partnerships. So it was kind of a kept until we were able to disclose and work together on. But it was also through a mutual relationship as well. And from our perspective, it was natural. We get a lot of inquiries for partnerships, white labels, and we mostly say, unfortunately, no, right, because of resource constraints and everything. But we wanted to work with someone, as I mentioned, who has shared vision, right, shared values, and also a culture where customer assets and safety and security comes first. And there was no one else. When you look globally, like who are other exchanges, whom are regulated, and it's not only about regulation. For example, like the incident that happened in Japan, right? So they were already deemed regulated, right? So which means just being regulated is not enough. The other element that needs to come in is around audit, right? Are you audited? Are you actually putting best practices and according to the application or the regulatory guidelines? And some people don't do that, right? So all these things are important, and that's why when we met Nick and GBX, part of the Gibraltar Stock Exchange, we knew that that element was already there. So, and working closely with them, we understand that like a lot of other partners prefer to have hot wallet. To this date still, when I talk to Japanese exchanges, they will still say we want 10% or 20% in a hot wallet. But for example, when we talk with GBX, they're fine with 100% cold wallet. And that's important to us, right? So for our customers, also remind us every day why we don't have automatic withdrawals. But it's important to us where we believe to protect our customers' assets, it's important to do 100% cold wallet or cold storage, and that's where we share the same vision.
And the little bit of inconvenience is okay because the security is there, and you just minimize the risk. Well, we can respect that. And now we're taking questions from the public. The community is asking questions, and this one has bumped up from 10 to 16 votes. When is it possible to pay for QUOINE services like fees, etc., with cash? And when is it also possible to pay with cash on GBX?
Okay, so I think this is a question. This is a question for me. Right. So we are working on it, and so right now our cash token, we're trying to make it so that it could be paid for all transaction fees. Every fee or things that need to be paid on all of our platform, which is CoinEx, cryptos, liquid, and everything else. That means we need to plan carefully and develop it so that there won't be any bugs, and also it needs to be agile, right? It needs to be, you need to be able to tune the discount rate and all those. So we believe by end of Q1 we will have that. Now, a lot of our customers were telling me with the ROC token ICO, can they pay with the cash token? And I apologize, we won't have that ready for you. We were trying to do that, but it won't meet it.
Well, better not to rush things through, right? Exactly. All right, well, let's have the next questions, guys. Okay. What happened to the announced migration to a new trading platform at the end of January? Who's taking this question?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is me as well. I think they're putting me on the spot. But this is part of our Liquid platform. And Liquid platform has a 3-step migration. And the first happens in the back end, where we are going to replace or upgrade our matching engine, our order routing engine, our multi-market orders. And so all of these, it's currently in staging or testing mode. So it is in parallel. But we were initially scheduled to put this in production in January. But as you know, with the incident that happened in Japan, and that, like with the Japan FSA now asking every exchange to reevaluate each security measures, processes, do vulnerability tests with evidence. So all of these things put everything out of whack. So that said, it's in development. It's actually in testing. And once we're confirmed that it's secure, we will put that migrate into the new system.
See, that's the thing I've been getting from Mike throughout all this time that I've known him. It's always about being careful, not rushing things, and if it's half-baked, we're not going to put it up there, right? It's got to be. And we may disappoint some of the fans out there, but you know what? Your money and your safety is more important than just hitting the deadline. Now, what's the difference between these exchanges that you guys have, like GBX or even QUOINE with existing exchanges out there? Like, would that be a redundant of exchanges to someone who's not familiar with the crypto scene? Nick, would you like to take that question?
Yes, I think from, I mean, Mike touched on it earlier. I think, well, let's talk about the difference between other exchanges, and then we'll talk about the heist. I love that word. The difference between GBX and other exchanges in terms of cryptocurrency exchanges is we're putting in place a sponsor model. Okay. So traditionally, if I was an issuer, I finished my token sale, I approach an exchange, or an exchange might approach me, I pay the fee, and my token gets admitted to trading on the exchange. Mm-hmm. What we've done instead is we've turned the model around slightly, because we see 3 or 4 things happening in the marketplace. One is there are so many advisor firms popping up everywhere, every day, that we want to be able to have a trusted network of highly qualified ICO advisors, let's call them that. Secondly, we think that there is a need, given the volume, for ICO issuers to perhaps be able to differentiate themselves from the masses in terms of reaching an institutional grade kite mark. I think thirdly, it allows issuers to know that the participants and contributors to their token have already been cleared by us for KYC and AML. That's really important. Yep. And also, we want to be able to provide and bring consistency to white papers. So for us, we've got a sponsor set of rules and a listing set of rules. So it's a slightly different model where you actually come through our token sale platform, a lot of which actually is very similar to what the boys at QUOINE are developing. It's a token sale platform and a cryptocurrency exchange that belongs to a stock exchange ecosystem. Okay. So effectively, it's almost like a utility token, right through eventually to possibly selling equity as a tokenized security. So that's different, I think, because no other cryptocurrency exchange that we know has the sponsor model. So that's the first thing. The second thing is in terms of, look, the heist. All we can do is put in best practices, and that's why we love the approach that QUOINE take, and we'll be taking exactly the same approach. We would rather have a little bit less convenience, T+1, but be able to say to you, everything's offline, everything's in cold storage, your assets are safe, because that's absolutely vital to our clients. And
no matter what people say about being inconvenienced and wanting things done fast, at the end of the day, losing your money is not going to be something that anybody wants to experience. So I would say that there is definitely traction in what you guys want to do with regards to your exchange. Now, how does one actually get onto, like you talk about the ICOs and the sponsors, ICO advisors and sponsors, how do you actually put that in place? Like, what are the kind of checklists you have for an ICO sponsor to come up to you and say, I want to be a sponsor?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You can just go onto our website today, and you can download the sponsor's application form and the sponsor rules. So they're all there, and we now have a number of sponsors that we're talking to. It only came out about a week ago. So we expect over the next probably 6 to 10 weeks for us to start seeing sponsor applications come through. The token listing rules, they'll be published probably the week after this one, about 10 days' time. Okay. And again, that will give everybody the full information. It'll give issuers what they need to understand what we'll be looking for in terms of criteria and responsibilities. But sponsor firms can also look at our sponsor rules and say, okay, this is something that I can meet the criteria of, and I'm interested in joining. And literally, they can talk to us. They don't have to fill in an application form. They can talk to us first and say, look, we're thinking of becoming a sponsor firm. What's the process? And we can just walk them through it and give them advice whether they should proceed or not.
So with this layer of assessment and sponsorship, we kind of prevent the rest of the shitcoins to actually be listed and then hopefully getting money from unsuspecting investors, right?
I think that, look, let's call them not so good coins. I think what we're trying to put in place is a vetting process. Okay. So we don't want to say that one token is better than another. What we want to be able to do is to bring issuers who are happy to reach the standards of disclosure which we require, to be also responsible that after their token is trading, that they understand we're going to be looking for them to report to us to make sure they're delivering on the promises they put in the white paper. And if they're not delivering on the promises, that's okay. Just make sure you tell your token issuer, token participants and contributors exactly what's happening, because things change, things happen,
But this is just
and we
basic
understand
accountability.
that. It's just accountability, and that's what we're trying to bring to the marketplace, where I think it's been lacking, which is in our view why the regulators have been so nervous about this market.
In traditional businesses, all what you just said is actually a common sense thing to do, but somehow in the crypto world, that seems like under the carpet.
Yes. So the market needs a GBX, right? So when you actually look at global, and especially ICOs, the token issuers do it on their own site or their own website, and they go and try to list in as many exchanges as they can, right? So there's no such, like, for example, a proper process, a sponsor firm, especially under the Gibraltar Stock Exchange and the Blockchain Exchange. So the market needs something like this, and that's why we're excited to work with you.
I 100% agree on that right now, gentlemen, because I think that's what the market needs this year after being burnt so many times last year. It just makes a lot of sense that this is happening right now. What are the key benefits to holding ROC tokens? It says in the website that RKT holders will benefit from future ecosystem growth. Could you elaborate more on that?
Sure. I think look, one of the first things, let's talk about, first of all, indirectly about being an RKT holder, particularly the 7,000 or so that have whitelisted with us and have passed the test. As Mike was saying, traditionally with every issue, you have to go through the whitelisting process. For those that have cleared whitelisting with GBX for RKT, they also now have an account on GBX. Okay, so they never have to whitelist again, ever. In terms of every token that comes through the GBX platform, they can one-click participation in terms of participating in that token sale. So hopefully it's as painless, frictionless as a process as possible. The second thing that we've tried to do is to say, if you hold a minimum balance of RKT, which in our case is $1,000, you'll get that first 24-hour window of every single token that comes through us in terms of preferred access, just like we kind of have done with ours with the whitelisting process. So the third thing is in terms of the ecosystem, we tried to say that, GBX, and obviously it's very kind of Mike to say the market needs it. GBX is phase one of where we really want to go. And look, we're probably going to come with the questions later, but we have some real challenges out there in the marketplace with regards to access to payments, access to banking services, etc. So exactly. So what we're going to try and do here is not just put you on a pathway from utility token through to different capital market products in the future, if you want to do a fixed income deal, or you want to do an equity issuance, etc. But it's all to try to provide further services. Look, we acquired a company in November 2017, a big corporate services company in Gibraltar, the largest fund administration company. And again, we've seen natural synergy there because with the regulations kicking in January, a lot of companies are now looking to Gibraltar to domicile, to come to Gibraltar. So, and we tend to get a lot of those approaches. So we can just say, okay, speak to our arm over there. They're part of the GSX group. They'll set up a company for you. They'll do all your reporting for you. If you're a fund manager, you can come and we'll do all your net asset values. But I think moving forward, we're really excited about trying to get into the e-money business. That's going to be one of our license applications in the next 3 to 4 months. Okay. So we can really help issuers with their payments because particularly institutionally, that's going to be a vital requirement moving forward, particularly as we've seen some of the banks get, particularly the correspondent clearing banks, get really, really tough on this sector.
All right. Well, let's have the next question. What was it? Oh, where were we? Maybe that. That's a good question, right? Can we have that again? About the banks? Something about banks I saw? Oh, I got it from memory. Gibraltar may be friendly to cryptocurrencies, but what about banks around the world? Something along that lines.
Yes, I think, look, banks are trying to get their heads around the AML and KYC concerns that they have, and that's going to take some more time. What we tried to do in Gibraltar was over the last couple of years, when the government started the process of should we regulate financial services companies that use blockchain, if we should, how should we, etc. And that led to the 9 principles system. It was really important that you didn't have the regulator the government and us or industry on board, you had to have the banks on board, and that was vital. So the communication process with our banks in Gibraltar actually started quite early, and they've been incredibly responsive. So our banks are really supportive in terms of Gibraltar. But also, look, we see perhaps opportunities in the future about actually developing a crypto bank. And that's where, look, if we can remove some of the fiat aspects and some of the regulatory uncertainty or payments uncertainty, because if some of the big clearing banks, if they all decide tomorrow that they're just not going to service this segment, that's a real challenge.
It's
when
kind of looking like that way right
our
now.
view is, look, we know there are risks, but this is a technology that's emerging. We need to be able to help and nurture this technology and this innovation that's happening globally. Because DLT is going to change the way we live. So our view is, look, we want to be able to work with the banks very closely and to reassure them of the concerns they have, but also we see some fantastic opportunities in terms of actually possibly establishing some type of crypto bank in Gibraltar.
So when I look at the future, I think there's going to be a future where everything could be paid or done in cryptocurrencies. But that's still in the future. So until then, there's always going to be a touch point where fiat comes in. But when you look at the global exchanges right now, there's so many crypto exchanges popping up without a banking relationship, which makes it even more important and critical and crucial to have an exchange that is regulated, that has proper banking relationships. And I think that's where GBX comes in.
And I think a lot of us can actually attest to that, because we have problems transferring money in and out and doing over-the-counter, paying premium. It's a headache, it's a hassle right now. So I'm glad that a solution is coming to us really, really soon. So what about Coin and Cash? Have you guys gone through the GBX listing process?
We will. So actually, one of the things that I was talking with Nick,
would there be a chance where you guys don't pass the test?
No. So that is a risk. So I'm still worried that they might decline or they might reject us, right?
I think if the Japan regulators approved cash, I think we should be on safe territory.
And one more thing that makes us different is we are audited by one of the big four. Right. So there's people who will say one thing and not actually do it. Right. So what the incident in Japan, they were saying they had everything in cold storage, but as it turns out, 100% hot wallet. Right. So you can say one thing, but not really be accountable. So that's why, as Nick mentioned, accountability is important. But how do you vet that? Right. So that's where these auditors come in. And there's there's all these rumors about Tether and USDT and auditors and all these things. So one of the things is, yes, being regulated is important, but where does the check and balance come in? Like, who are these third-party auditors or people who will come and say that it is true?
All right, guys. Next question, please. Just leave it on this page. I think we can take it from there. So this is the one that actually got me chuckling a little bit. RBDEX, X-Trade, Pinnacle, Brilliance. The competition is following you guys closely. Are you confident you will win this race?
So I can start first, and maybe Nick, you can chime in. But so I believe most of these are decentralized exchanges, right? So I think there's this whole movement towards decentralized exchanges where it's peer-to-peer, atomic swap. There's no clearing, and the thing that worries me is when you look at globally with G20 that is going to talk about crypto regulation, and a lot of, like, for example, like Germany and France talking about how they can share guidelines and these incidents that happen. Governments will make sure and make exchanges accountable. Right? So they will actually make you accountable of the customer assets. And when you go to the government and say, actually, it's peer-to-peer, right? They will shut you down. They will shut you down. So as much as I love decentralization on many services, regarding exchanges, especially when you manage customer assets, there needs to be a fine balance, right? So as long as it's small and it's more peer-to-peer, it might be okay. But when it becomes large and when it starts, a lot of people start trading on your platform, then there needs to be that balance between regulation and custody and clearance and accountability.
And on the technical side, would there be any problem with the speed or the scalability?
Yeah, so performance, latency, scalability. I don't think there's any decentralized exchange in production that is robust and in the market yet.
Yeah.
There's a lot out there, but we'll see. So it's not only on the technology side, but also the regulatory side.
All right, next question, please. If ICOs still continue to raise funds through their own website, how do we expect a regulated exchange to change that situation, since it seems that we cannot stop ICOs from fundraising on their own?
And I don't think necessarily we should try to stop ICOs from fundraising on their own. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think, you know, the greater the choice for consumers, the better. I think what we've tried to do is to say, look, there will be some issuers out there that want to get access to a larger contributor base. And if we believe that that's going to go increasingly institutional over the next 3 to 5 years, and that, you know, we're looking at the longer term here as a business, then to come onto a regulated exchange that has this rules-based system with sponsors and will differentiate you from perhaps doing it yourself,
Yeah.
we think that's a good thing in the long run. It's not going to be for everybody. I think it might be for 3 to 4% of issuers, but you know what? That's what we're looking for. I think that's important. And
Yeah, and also ICO hacking is a big business now. People say it's going to be $1 billion business, right? So as a token issuer, it's not your main job, or it's not your value proposition to do an ICO, right? A token issuer, they're going to do an ICO once hopefully in their lifetime, or so. Why would you want to do that yourself? Where you can go to GBX, where there's already a customer base that is KYC cleared, and they're interested in participating in your ICO. And when you are approved at GBX, for example, or even like COINE, you know that you're part of other ICOs that have been approved as well. So when you think about it, if I were a new token issuer, would I want to do an ICO on my website by myself when there's these ICO hackers who will take down your site, take over your social media, put another generic Ethereum address, and they can run away?
So I think that's a very smooth way of not putting down the rest of the industry. It's just saying that, you know, look guys, we have all the best practices in place. These are our clients, these are our issuers. If you like it, hey, but if you don't and you want to do it on your own, it's still fine. Customers, you guys know what to do. And people usually be quite discerning with this.
but I think also what we've seen, and this was a message that we were given on our roadshow when we were doing our own token sale, is, you know, VC companies will review 500 white papers, and they'll choose 8 or 10 to actually participate in. And it's becoming harder and harder. You know, 2-3 years ago, you could write your white paper, raise $20 million in 10 seconds, and then go and build some fantastic technology. I'm not saying those days are over, but it's really hard now, as everybody is saying, I'm doing an ICO, I'm doing an ICO, I'm doing an ICO. So I think, again, what we've tried to do is to say, look, it's actually quite tough to pick a really good advisor unless you know somebody already. And again, we want to be able to say, look, we're just removing all that pain and risk. Because if you come to GBX, the sponsors that we've approved are qualified to bring you to market. And that's the main thing. And they will help you make sure that your white paper differentiates yourself from the masses.
Actually, that's a very key point that that actually resonates with me actually quite closely, because I'm in the scene of, you know, helping the community build up and talking to tokens, and I do see a rising number of self-declared ICO experts coming around to give advice to tokens and blockchain projects. And then as a project manager or project leader or a founder of a coin, sometimes you just take their word for it, and then before you know it, you know, it doesn't get very far. So I think that's definitely going to be a big boon for people in my industry, my side of the world. Well, let's see the next question, guys. Okay, I think we're almost at the end already. Okay, don't have to switch the screen, you just skip to this one. What can you tell me about the GBX Alliance and who can join the GBX Alliance?
Okay, and that's been something which we've really started to pick up momentum on as our sort of public sale is effectively coming to the end. There's been a lot of questions to us about what happens if there haven't been any rules before and if the rules are going to adapt and change. And we've said, you're absolutely right. We're bringing rules where really there haven't been any to now. So the Alliance is absolutely there as our sort of advisory board. There's no accountability. And the Alliance generally will be made up of sponsor firms and people in this space.
It's like a round table.
Exactly, it's like a round table, but it's a virtual round table. And what we want, you think about it, the people who are going to recognize the issues pretty quickly are going to be the sponsors. The sponsors are going to say, clause 2.2e doesn't work. And then we can say, okay, you're absolutely right, let's work on that. And that's what the Alliance is there for, to make sure that as an exchange, we stay absolutely at the top of the best practices tree, but also secondly, if the rules need adapting, because at the end of the day, we want to be practical.
Yeah.
We don't want to come up with such a burdensome regime that no issuer can get their token away and we don't do any business, because that would be crazy, right? So it's a balance between being flexible. We want the Alliance is there to really help us, stay on track with regards to best practices, but being pragmatic.
Okay, I'm going to take the last two questions. We'll call it a night. Some people are complaining that withdrawals are taking too much time. I understand that security is the number one priority, but no, this is what we talked about before.
No, but I would like to address this one and even the next one after that.
Cool.
Right. So we always review best practices, so it's always clear to us. There's a true north, right? Which is we need to protect customer assets and security comes first, and so from our perspective, it's a no-brainer to do cold storage and cold wallet, right? Because at least from a network attack from a hacker, there's always like external and internal risks, but at least from an external online risk, we can mitigate that. But then we look at it from an operations perspective. We do cold wallet once a day, right? But we're going to expand that to twice a day, 3 times a day. And that's something I would assume GBX will do as well, because there is going to be a little bit of trade-off between customer convenience and security, but it doesn't need to be fully compromised. So we need to find the right balance, and that's why we're increasing it to 3 times withdrawals. But for example, like hot wallet, even if it's for small transactions, when you accumulate all of the small transactions, it becomes large, right? So there is a balance there.
Okay, next question, please.
So the other one was they were asking, so COINEX, we had 100x leverage.
Yeah.
That's too much risk for the customer as well. But there's a lot of these trading junkies who are excited about the more leverage, the merrier. So we've brought it down on a conscious effort so that to protect our customers. That said, when we put the limit on 25x, I would say 90% of our margin traders still use 25x. And we don't recommend that when it's such a volatile market. So from that perspective, 100x was too much. And I don't recommend any users to go 100x.
Nick, you're a trader, right? You've been through the worst of the most exciting time where I think the bank was bankrupt at one point in time. You went through the .com era as well. And you've seen trading, the ugly side of it. What's your thoughts on the cryptocurrency trading trends these days?
I think taking a look back in time, I was here in '89 for 3 years in Japan trading Japanese derivatives in the live market, and that was a volatile period. So I've seen volatility in the past, and it's if you look at maturing of markets and what happens. If you look at the volatility currently in the crypto market, I think it has all the hallmarks of being a retail-driven marketplace. And the institutions, as I call it, the smart money, hasn't yet come in force. I think what you'll need to settle down some of that volatility is increased liquidity. And that comes from several things. It comes from maturing of the marketplace in terms of institutions. It's maturing of derivatives markets. Because my view is, futures, options, swaps, they're all part of a maturing market. And when you get all those different products in place, the liquidity improves. And I think everyone, the community, therefore, will benefit. So my short answer is the volatility is likely to continue over the next year to 2 years as institutions and the mainstreaming gets adopted.
So we're still very much in the early stage right now.
Yeah, in my view.
Well, and for those of you guys out there who have not gotten on the white list for Rocket Token, RKT, not to fret, what can they do? What do they need to know?
Well, if you missed the white listing, it's not all over, because you can still carry on, I think from tomorrow, I think at 8 a.m., but tomorrow you can carry on again. But unfortunately, you won't get that first 24-hour access on the 7th of February. You will roll over to the 8th of February on a first-come, first-served basis, if there's any left. And it's a $6 million sale on the Wednesday, and obviously, so we can't guarantee that any will be left. But it certainly isn't over, and still the benefits are still there. That if you get whitelisted, you're a GBX account holder. You never know, there might be a little prize waiting for you. We'll have to wait and see. We'll maybe give you something. But again, it comes back to you've got a GBX account. Then you're whitelisted. You never have to do it again. So you're ready for the future anyway when we start bringing on token sales.
Very nice. And for nothing else, Rocket Token as a name itself, I am freaking in love with that.
Rock Token.
Rock Token. Yeah, Rock Token, RKT. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for you. One more? Okay.
The reason why is there's 7 votes. And I don't think it will be a disservice to our customers if we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So the question is, Liquid and the World Book is in test mode, right? Yes, it is. Do you think it will be released beta Q1 2018? That is absolutely our goal. And there's one thing I would like to share with the community today, and this I haven't shared anywhere. So right now as Coin, we have CoinX, we have Cryptos, and we're going to have Liquid. That's too much for a startup, right? So we're thinking about maybe combining all these together as a liquid platform where there's going to be a fiat element, there's going to be an ICO element, and there's going to be a liquidity element. We probably don't need to have 3 separate services. So that is going to be also part of this Q1, and it's an ambitious goal. So please stay tuned, and we'll come back later.
Well, you're hearing this first time right here on CryptoCentral.net live AMA session with Mike and Nick. Well, if you can still post some questions, we'll give it to you guys along the next couple of weeks. So if there's nothing else, thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you so much,
Good
Eugene.
job.
Well, I'll catch up with you guys again.
Thanks, Mike.
See you, Nick.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
And that's all we have for you tonight.
Bye-bye.
Good night.